Okay folks, this is Mike here for another Mike's Journey. I'm in front of the Cutty Sark here in Greenwich. Why am I here? I'm basically doing some freelance work, including deliveries and stuff, so I'm working on that a little bit. Most of these jobs you just got to wait for people to call you, so that's what I'm doing, waiting around, waiting for people to call me, and then I'm gonna go to my tent and get some rest. Does it make the money? Is what you're usually going to say. It doesn't. But it's, it's a start, and that's the thing. We have to work ourselves up, start from the beginning and work our way in a sense. Now, I promised you guys I'll do a video talking about, Silent Hill Genesis, and let's talk about it. As you can tell, I don't have my selfie stick with me. Reason being, as I said, I'm kind of roaming at the moment, so it makes things a little bit harder for me to actually do, including even a selfie. Now, Silent Hill Genesis was started around about a year and a half ago. I started it when I basically was watching an episode of Supernatural, and right after I watched the Christoph Gans version of Silent Hill. People have a huge issues with these movies, they have a ton of issues, and I'm no different. And after watching Supernatural, I decided, hey, this would make a good series. Why doesn't they actually put Silent Hill into an episode of a television series, like do something in similar vein of American Horror Story, or as I said, Supernatural, and shows in the same vein, talking about, the precursor, like the idea of the cult prior to the first game. And no, not Silent Hill Origins, where you've got a MacGuffin of a guy named Travis walking around solving all these puzzles, which make no fucking sense because it does no tie-in to the original game whatsoever. They just threw something in and said, oh look, it's a prequel. It's actually an idea of what happens to the town, how the town progresses in that environment, and how it kind of gets resolved by our main hero. And I wanted to use Harry Mason because he had strong ties to Alessa. He always had strong ties to Alessa with his daughter Cheryl, or Heather, as you'd like to call her. And also his relationship with his girlfriend / wife. So we get to, the idea was to kind of put a younger Harry Mason in the time frame, develop these relationships, and also explore the idea of the town and the people within it, and the greed and corruption that goes as well as the supernatural. And have this whole idea that there's, a foregone conclusion. At the end of this, we're going to see the kind of situation where Alessa gets sacrificed to give birth to this demon, to Samael. And thus, Harry has to kind of get to that point to kind of save her. Now, I decided to write in brief. I did a scriptment, as you will, did a kind of a treatment and a script discussing the several elements of the story and pitched it to Konami. And I got an email back from Konami from a lady by the name of Louise, who worked in the, I think it was the branding department. I can't remember exactly what it was, but she put me through to a couple of the big wigs in the London branch, and I managed to get myself a kind of an interview pitch meeting with them, and I explained to them the premise of the idea, and best of all, is that it was going to be no cost to them, because as they stated, they don't have the money to kind of fund the project, especially with an indie company that kind of has no, TV background aside from a few projects here and there, which is fine. I was willing to put up some of the investment myself, which is what I did, and kind of getting my team together, putting the project together, and sacrificing the time and energy to kind of get it moving. And then, things kind of went downhill. After hearing murmurings of what happened to Kojima, and this is kind of going a year later, I kept emailing my contact in Konami, and nobody was responding back. I was emailing every relevant contact I could find, no one was emailing back, and thus was left in a bind. I had the Indiegogo ready to kind of pitch the project, to get the project out to each and every one of you, so we could crowdfund it and get the money that we needed, which was like 150k, so that we could shoot the project in Vancouver. We had the permission from the Vancouver government to kind of bring it over and in turn they would give me and, you know, all the actors a kind of a place there. You know, the money, the 150k would kind of triple as well due to the fact that we would get an extra incentive, including a grant, kind of a bursary that goes on top of that, that could propel us up to 300 grand in order to get this project made. But we have to, it's kind of a match for match, you know, a like for like incentive. But it, you know, it killed. You know, it basically, the company stopped responding to me. I spoke to every relevant person I could find, and it turned into a situation where I had no concrete way, no agreement in place, no contract signed to say you can do this. All I had was an email with permission, which it wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't stand up in court, and they could easily block it. So what does the future like, you know, now that all this shit has happened? The future lies in general as me looking at ways to kind of go around this. You know, I still want to do it. I think it would turn into an amazing TV series. I think we could easily sell it to a TV station, especially in the United States. But I've got to figure out how I'm going to present it now, and if I can still attach the Silent Hill name to it, because I believe it would work. Especially due to the fact that we've now lost Silent Hill PT. But I'm also thinking out maybe I can actually go on a larger scale and see if we can actually get like businesses, you know, get an investment company, maybe a brokerage or something to kind of kick up the money so that we could actually buy the licensing out. So I'm trying to track down who I need to talk to about actually acquiring the property itself, because you know, down the grapevine I heard that Microsoft had a bid in terms of kind of acquiring the license. I think they pulled out, from what I've been told. Even though Phil Spector said, "Oh, we never had any interest in it," I think they pulled out because it just didn't. You know, I think Konami wanted kind of too much from Microsoft in order to get the licensing out, or they were trying to kind of hot tag the price a little bit, or messing people around. You guys know the story, what's happening in Konami at the moment. You know the employee shit that's been going on. You know the way that the company's been handling itself and the pachinko machines and whatever. And all I'm worried about is I want to see something that I put a lot of heart, passion, that a lot of people put heart, passion into, for free, mind you, succeed. Because there's a lot of actors, a lot of high quality actors like Michael Carey, you know, Maggie Maddox, a lot of guys like Dan Scullion, Dan Ashley, Sarah Mortimer, Tarara Man, Rob Frith, you know, all these amazing talents that I don't want to waste by not doing this. You know, this was my first big clinch of success. It was at the point where we were almost there. We were almost at that point that we could kickstart this project, get it out there, get it funded, and turn this into a full-blown series, because it deserves it. Silent Hill deserves to be told, the story needs to be told properly. And in my opinion, I feel like any game after the first 3 hasn't done that. And it's a shame. And what does that, you know, do for me at the moment? People just be like, "Oh, you know, you should worry about just being homeless, dude. You don't have to worry about shit like that." Well, I still worry about it because I love Silent Hill. Always have, always will. It's one of my favourite games. It's one of my best memories, having played the game with my dad. And I don't, you know, want to lose it. So all I can do now is look at my options, look at ways I can find some wiggle room, and if, Konami, if you see this video, please respond. You know, name your price. I will find a way to get the money and buy the license, you know, and I'm not talking about out of my own pocket. We can look at getting investors. If you can name your price, put it on a piece of paper, I will go out and I will find a way to get the investors so that we can get the money and buy the license, because there's no reason why this shouldn't happen. But anyway, there's my story, guys. I hope you enjoy it. I know I'm going to probably get a few people calling me a liar, I don't care. But that was the time I almost had Silent Hill.